Hey everybody, welcome back to Industry Standard. This is an Ask Me Anything episode, which I love. I take these questions that you give me, and hopefully I give you the answer that you want. If you need to reach me, you can do so at Barry Katz at Instagram or Twitter or X or whatever you call it, or you can subscribe at this YouTube channel right here, right now. And I'd love to have you watch as much as possible because hopefully it'll make a difference for you like it has for so many. And I'm very grateful for all of you. So without further ado, let's start answering some questions randomly and see what happens here. This one is from Alan in Fort Lauderdale. I was a very successful opener for a famous comedian for over a decade. He passed away a while ago, and I have not made any significant progress in the business in 15 years. How can I turn my business life around? Well, Alan, it just starts with day one. I just had a podcast interview with somebody, and that's the thing, you just have to start, and you just have to figure out that day when you want to start and you're ready to start and you're committed to starting. And then from that point on, it's everything's possible and everything's out there and everything's on the table for how you can monetize your talent, your skill set, whether you're a writer, you could write a book, you could write a show for yourself that you could film. You could do a one-person show. This particular person, whoever they opened up for, passed away. If they're a person who does impressions or knew them well, they could do an impression of them. They could even do a one-person show where they open up as themselves and then take an intermission, put some videos on, get in the makeup as this person and do a show of them and tour it across the country. You could do a show once a week in your area. Find a little bar that'll take the bar and the food, and you take the door, and you just start. You start getting a name for yourself because you got the talent. You opened up for a big act for a long time. That means you have the goods. You know how to do it. You have the formula. It's all there. You've done it before. And so all you got to do is pull on the things that you've done successfully. If you can't remember those things, think about something else you've done successfully. I know what you're thinking, like, what could that be? Listen, it could be anything. There could be a situation where you had this wonderful house that you loved, and you're married, and your kids love the house, and you've always thought to move to a different place, but you're worried that the kids will be upset or whatever, and then the landlord came to your house and said, hey, guess what? You got to get out. I'm selling the house. And then you figure out in a span of 30 days how to get into another house and move and have everything set and have your kids happy. That's an accomplishment. That's something that you did out of nowhere. Or let's say you totaled your favorite car. Well, you have to figure out a way to go to the insurance company, talk to them, set the claim, get the money, go to another place, find a car you like, go shopping, get the car, insure it, go to the registry, and you'll do it. You have to do it or you don't have a car. So you got to look at these things with a sense of urgency and the things that you've done in the past, even if they have nothing to do with show business. Still look at those things and I think set those goals and you can make anything happen. One of the guys in the Blueprint meetings that we have every Monday at 5, he said he was getting rotary cuff surgery and he had to cancel all these gigs and he was all depressed. And then one day he just said, f it. I'm going to just start every day. I'm going to make a list of 20 clubs that I reach out to via email and call. I'm going to keep following up and following up. By the time his shoulder was healed, he had gigs that he couldn't even do as many gigs as he had in all places all around the country because he'd followed up, he'd been persistent, all because of something that happened to him with his shoulder. So everything's possible. You can make it happen. And that's my answer. This one's from Freddie in Copenhagen. What advice that you've given to a client do you wish you could take back? Oh, that's a great question. That's a great question. My mother always used to say, whatever decision you make it the right one. But I do remember this one thing, and it's not career threatening or anything like that, but it just made me laugh. It was so hard when it happened, yet it was really an interesting moment. I was with Frank Caliendo, the great impressionist. We were at the Montreal Just for Laughs festival, and we had his whole set planned. But he kept doing this Norm Macdonald bit for me, and the voice was so great, and the impression was so great, and he was in Canada where Norm was from, so I thought, God, you got to throw that in there. And he did this amazing, amazing set, and in the middle he did Norm Macdonald, and the bit completely bombed, but everything else in his set killed. And afterwards he got up stage and he's like, yeah, thanks for telling me to do the Norm Macdonald bit. And although that's not the worst thing, or certainly not the thing that was the lightest, it certainly was the funniest to me, because I couldn't believe I told him so adamantly that he should do it, and it just backfired. Next question. From Lionel in Rochester, New York. Do you have any advice for avant-garde comedians who have been told that their material is too weird and animalistic? Asking for a friend. Lionel, I want to tell you something. I've been doing this a long time. I've had people say that material was too weird. I've never heard people say that it was animalistic. So I'm trying to think what you mean by that. But I understand about the eclectic avant-garde stuff. And listen, if that's what makes you happy and that's what speaks to you and that's what you love doing, you got to stay in your lane, and you just got to do it, and you got to fight through all the comments and everything else and find your audience. And that's the most important thing. And everybody can find their audience. I remember I had 4 different people I had host in different times the AVN Awards, the Adult Video Awards. I know you're saying, where am I going with this? I remember every time they'd take the host to the convention floor, and there'd always be like a line of tables with these cam girls who, I guess they interact with people in real time who pay them money to do certain things on the camera, whatever that may be. And I'm looking, and there's there's a beautiful girl, looks like she's like a model out of the pages of Cosmopolitan. There's another girl who's a little person who's beautiful. There's another girl who's like heavy set and beautiful. There's another girl who's got like a mole like Marilyn Monroe and bleached blonde hair. There's another person who's trans. There's another person who's African American, Latino, Asian, every different kind of woman. And they all make money. They all make money. They all have somebody who's their type. And like, somebody might not be a fan of the model from Cosmopolitan, but they might be a fan of the Filipino girl who speaks with an accent. And I saw that and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing that my mother always said there's somebody for everybody. And it goes the same thing for comedy. It's like, I used to watch Zach Galifianakis do these amazing eclectic pieces, incredible, or Dimitri Martin do these unbelievably artistic things that weren't mainstream. And I loved it, even somebody like Bill Hicks, the late Bill Hicks, used to do really edgy, tough, really aggressive material. But, he had his audience, and you can find yours, and just stick with it, make it as funny as possible. And who cares if 99.9% of the world doesn't like you? Let me tell you something. If 99.9% of the world doesn't like you, and that little tiny percentage of a percent likes you, you're going to be a multi-millionaire. Trust me. There's 7 billion people in the world. You don't have to be loved by everybody. Only a little bit. Next question. I'm a middle-aged woman with limited experience looking to break into the comedy scene. And I just quit my job. My kids are upset. What do I do? Fran from Hoboken, New Jersey. You sure they're not upset that you live in Hoboken? Am I pronouncing that properly? Hoboken. I don't know. Listen, I understand anybody wanting to quit their job. Many comedians want to quit their job. I think it's great to, whatever age you are, to be able to do things that you think are exciting and new. And if comedy's one of them, that's great. You're not going to make money right away doing comedy unless you're absolutely one of the most extraordinary people in the business. Like, let's say, how Frank Caliendo or Pablo Francisco made money right away. John Panette started headlining right away, but it's very rare. And so you don't have to quit your job, just do the comedy in your spare time and be at a situation where you build your material and you build your following and you build your case in the world to where you're making money, and then you can quit your job happily, tell your boss to go fuck themselves. And then your kids won't be upset because they'll be living in a mansion and traveling all over the world with you doing comedy. Hey everybody, it's Barry Katz, and I wanted to talk to you about Blueprint for Success. This is a community that I put together during the pandemic to help all artists of every walk of life in the entertainment business. No matter where you are in that part of this journey, it's designed to help you. There are podcasts with people that will inspire you, like Kevin Hart, Judd Apatow, Bill Burr, that you can't find anywhere else but on this program that I've interviewed, to times where we get to talk to executives in the business that you would never have access to tell you what you need to hear and to answer your questions, to all sorts of different videos and master classes designed to help you get to the promised land. That's what the Blueprint for Success is. Doesn't matter whether you want to be a stand-up comedian, a sketch performer, a podcaster, an actor, an actress, director, writer, social media person, whatever you want to be. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've had the honor and been humbled to represent people like Chappelle, Wanda Sykes, Louis C.K., Dane Cook, and probably over 20 other people who went from a studio apartment to being a multi-millionaire and a household name. And I want that for you, and I wanted to take the time with this program to be able to help you on your way there, to get there and to heighten and increase the trajectory of your career. Blueprint for Success is the way to go. I'm proud to be a part of this program, and I'd be proud to have you to be a part of it too. Next question. What are your favorite SNL sketches? Samantha from Montana. Not even a city, just Montana. It's like you just lump it all in there. My favorite SNL sketches of all time are, I don't know, I've always loved Chris Farley. I think Jay Moore said it best in his book, Gasping for Airtime, that Chris Farley was a wrecking ball of joy. And so every sketch he was in, whether it was flying above the Weekend Update desk or if he was the motivational speaker, I don't know, I just always loved that. One of the things you knew about comedy in the sketch world that's different from anything else, in stand-up, you're putting a puzzle together, and your goal is to solve the puzzle before your audience solves it. The amazing thing about sketch is that you can, if there's a great sketch and a great character, like let's say Sister Mary Catherine that Molly Shannon did, or Chris Farley, you always knew that they were going to fall on a breakaway table or fall on something. You always knew that that was the big closer. But you weren't bored with it. You looked forward to it because it was such an extraordinary character and such an amazing, amazing piece that you looked forward to it. And those are the ones that I think I always loved. And to this day, I still love. This one's from Herb in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I think that's Louis Anderson's hometown. Who is your least favorite comedian? Whew. Ouch. Herb. I know who my least favorite comedians are, so I'll tell you what. I won't mention them by name, but I'll tell you the comedians that I don't love. I don't love comedians who take shortcuts. I don't like comedians that don't work hard on stage and give the audience everything. And please know that even though you work slow, doesn't mean you don't give the audience everything. I mean, just to give you an example, if you just watch the Saturday Night Live opening in the beginning of January with Dave Chappelle, slow, methodical, but he gave it everything he had, and the metaphor at the end was extraordinary. I'll never forget that monologue. And I know it just felt like he gave it all he had, that passion. But we all know the comedians that don't. We all know the comedians that don't take things seriously. And some of them are very funny. But I always like the ones who put the effort in, work hard, care about their craft, and perform every show like they're putting it in a time capsule that's going to be opened up 100 years from now. All right, this is from Louise in Paris, Texas. I'm in college and have been gaining momentum performing my comedy, but was just offered an opportunity to study abroad in France. That's funny, Paris, Texas, and then France. Should I go there or stay to keep performing here in the U.S.? Great question. Listen, I'm a big fan of momentum. I'm a big fan of keeping things going, pushing that rock up the hill. But I'm also a big fan of things that happen once in a lifetime. And chances are to go overseas for 3 months on a program abroad is something that's not going to happen 10 years from now or 20 years from now. And I think you got to go. You got to go to France. You got to make new connections out there, figure out how the performers work there, study them, maybe even try to perform a show in French and in English while keeping your connections alive where you were and keeping the momentum going, just letting them know that you're coming back and you're excited and engaging them so that when you do come back in 3 months, they won't even know that you left. You'll just pick up where you left off, but you'll have enormous worldwide experience that's going to help you in the future and throughout your career. All right, this one's from Sean Winston in Plymouth, Mass. What is one thing people always assume and get wrong about the comedy world? I think one of the things people get wrong about the comedy world is they'll see somebody break through and they haven't seen them anywhere. So they don't really understand how long they've been working and doing it. So they'll see somebody like Nikki Glaser or Brad Williams or Theo Vaughn, and they'll think to themselves, wow, this person is incredible, how they just an overnight sensation. But they're not an overnight sensation. They're a 17, 15, 20-year overnight sensation. They've been working hard, getting to the point, training for when the lights are the brightest and the money's on the line. And if you think about that, that's how the world works in everything, even sports. Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls. And out of all the time that he spent in football-related activities, how many do you think you've actually seen him? How many hours? Out of thousands and thousands and thousands of hours, how many hours have you watched Tom Brady? Even if you watched every game of his career, it's like a fraction of all the time he spent in the film room, on the practice field, getting ready for, again, when the lights shine the brightest and the money's on the line. And I think that's the thing that people get wrong about it. There's no overnight sensations. People work their asses off to get where they are. Tony Hinchcliffe isn't working Madison Square Garden overnight. He's been killing himself, working really hard. And Bert Kreischer, years and years and years. Bill Burr, 30 years. It's the way it works. And if you think you're going to get into this business and you're going to be a star right away, that's not the way it works. You got to build yourself up and build a career. And after you build the career, you got to pretend that you have no career to get yourself motivated to build the next stage of your career. Last question. I know I'm talented and capable of great things, but I suffer from severe depression and mood swings that get in the way of professional progress. Do you have any advice for overcoming these obstacles? Morris in Ottawa, Canada. This is tough, but I think the first thing you got to try to do is figure out the trial and error of whatever medication or homeopathic solutions you have to getting yourself adjusted and aligned the right way. You know, it's like if you're born with bad eyesight, you go into the lens crafters or the optometrist or whoever it is, and they adjust the glasses in a way where you can see properly. And it's the same thing with depression. You got to figure out the proper medication or the proper ways that you eat or the proper homeopathic things that get you to the point where you know you're thinking clearly and you can see that you're thinking clearly for an extended period of time. And once you have that clear mind, then you can plan your world domination step by step, little by little. Make a list for yourself of the things that you know you can accomplish in the next month. It's automatic. There's no way you can accomplish it. Then put a list together of things that are a little bit difficult, a little more difficult to accomplish, but they are accomplishable. And then you get those things done. And then you see your victories and they start stacking up. And then you can set goals for yourself that are a little bit higher and a little bit bigger and a little bit more lofty. And you may fall and you may have a relapse, but there's one thing that will happen in that relapse when you come out of it that no one can ever take away from you. And those are the things that you've accomplished when you had a clear view of the future. All right, this is another episode of Industry Standard Ask Me Anything. I love this, short and sweet, but I love the questions. Keep them coming, and I'm very grateful, and I appreciate all of you, and I'll see you next time on Industry Standard.